Hey everyone, it is good to see you here. It is it is Monday. It is one of my favorite things to teach. I say that all the time. I say that a lot, but this really is one of my favorites. In fact, I don't know that I would have a thing that I would teach that isn't one of my favorites, but this one is about business plans. And for those of you who are coming on, I know some of you have business ideas. Some of you are just in the early part of your planning. Some of you might actually be in business, may have been in a business for a while, and you just kind of want to put together a strategic business plan. This is actually going to be about formal business plans. This is going to be about business plans 101. So we're also going to give you a link. You don't even have to enter in your email address, a free link for a business plan template, and that you can kind of walk through, answer questions. So if this is something you would like, say, absolutely, I would like this, or no, I don't want it. No, you can absolutely get it. Uh, Michelle is asking a couple questions in there where you are from. I see Paulette from Detroit. Glad. I think I've seen you before, Paulette. Am I imagining that? Maybe not. Glad to see you. Geo, is that Geo? Yep. Originally from the country of Georgia. Currently live. Thank you for making that distinction, by the way, because we Americans just assume that our own Georgia. But well, good. I'm glad that you're here and you're in LA right now, connecting from Toronto. Very good, Mona. Glad that you could join us from Ghana. Oh, very, very good, Vanessa. I'm glad that you could join us today. Paulette, thank you for joining us. Okay, it looks like we've got a couple people. Sorry if I'm being redundant here. Annette, Renee. Oh, absolutely. Yes, you're answering the question for the free template. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get it here in a hot second. But here's the thing. I just want you to promise me that when I show you how to get it, don't peruse around through there. In fact, don't multitask at all. I will give y'all plenty and ample opportunity on the other side to review this and look at this and work through that. But right now, I just want you to stay plugged in with me. In fact, don't multitask. Don't be messing around with emails. I know those TikTok videos are just so hard to not watch and all the things. But here's the carrot I'm going to dangle in front of you. Okay, you're going to get that for free. Okay, listen, I am here, and if for those of you who have heard me talk before, you might be saying he sounds a little different. Yeah, because I picked up a cold because in our family we like to share things. We share our love, we share our germs, and I'm not blaming it on our 3-year-old, but she's been the one who's sick for the last week, and I feel like I have been run over by a truck. But the show must go on, and I was not about to not show up for you guys. So if the least I can do is show up and tell you and show you what I know about this stuff, the least you can do is not multitask. And I'm just also telling you in advance, if I say something that sounds like it came from a NyQuil dream, you'll know why. Okay, like, did he really say that? Dark Rose, hello, it's good to see you. From Edmonton, very good. In Canada, you bake cookies, very good. All right, so we got someone from South Africa. Hello from Minnesota. Luverta, it's good to see you again. Glad that you could join us. All right. So again, just want to let you know, please don't multitask. This is it. I'm here, and please just stay dialed in. So we're talking about what we're going to be talking about here is a strategic approach to managing your life and business. So we're taking a top-down approach, and that's what a good business plan should do. So for you, you may have you have a cold too, Annette. It has been years since my last. Oh my gosh, really? See, the thing is, when I get sick and it hits me like super hard, and then usually by the next day it's gone. So I'm kind of in that middle, like where it's hitting me super hard. So I feel like I'll be all right in the morning, but I don't know that. But I hope you get feeling better, Annette. Hi, Portia, from Louisiana. Good to see you. All right, so we are taking a top-down strategic approach to managing both your life and your business. And that's the one thing that I will say, a strategic plan or a business plan seldom, if not ever, actually brings in and discusses your personal life. That's just not the nature of most business plans. However, I think that's a weakness of lots of business plans, because a lot of times people will put together a business plan that's not in alignment with their life. It's not in alignment for really what they hope to accomplish at the end of the day. And if you don't identify something that I will refer to as a personal vision, you'll hear me talk about that here in a second. That becomes problematic later on. So I just want to make sure that we're taking a strategic top-down approach to managing your life and your business. So again, I'm going to show you how to get a copy of the template here in just a second. But again, let's talk about who this is for. This is for new or established businesses, either one. So if you are a new business, or you have an idea for a business, or you have been in business for a while, I want you to stop and think about this, that this is for you, because you can use a business plan at any point in time during your business, even if you've been in business for a while. So if you've been in business for 2 minutes or 2 decades, you should have a business plan. And that business planning helps become the construct in terms of how you make decisions in the future. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down the framework that I look at through business planning. And then when you use the template, I still want you to keep this Viper methodology in your mind. It doesn't, so the business plan template is really kind of a compilation of what I've seen um, put together in different aspects from the SBA, from Small Business Administration here in the U.S. Different people who have different ideas around business plans, and the reason for business plans is because, especially if you're looking for funding, if you're looking for investors, if you're going to a bank, sometimes they may want to see an actual formalized business plan. And that's fine, right? They don't really care about your personal vision. Although I would argue that I will tell you, it would matter to me as an investor. If someone's coming to me and they're asking me as an investor to put something in, and they're just kind of doing it from an aspect of making money versus an aspect of making a difference, I'm telling you, I'm going to look at the person trying to make a difference in a different way, because usually the inspiration for money wears out, because it becomes this chasing other rabbits syndrome that I have seen a lot in other investors. So for me, I'm just letting you know that this is something that I have seen. You really want your business should help make a difference, not just be about making money. All right, so here is where you're going to go for your copy of the business plan template. So you can do that now if you want and download it, but here's where you're going to go. You're going to go to strategicboardroom.com, and there's a section under there under courses and logins. So there's a paid version up top, right? And you can scroll down, and there's free stuff down at the bottom. This is the first one under free stuff. Okay. I'm going to show you how to get there at the end. Okay. If you want to go there now, that's fine. But remember the promise, if I'm here with a cold, you're not going to multitask. Okay. So all I'm saying is, you can download it. You'll get it. You don't even have to enter in your email address. It's free, totally free. You can download it and then just and then save it as a PDF to your computer. And then I would recommend printing it and working on it from actual paper. That would be my suggestion. And it should be like a worksheet. I mean, it should wind up with mustard and ketchup and, coffee rings on it. Like, it should be a worksheet. This is not something meant to be pretty. The pretty thing comes later. That's when you're actually putting together a formalized business plan. And it does have, we'll walk through it at the end, but I'll show you what all that looks like. Okay. So if you want to go there now, that's fine. But I'm going to give you the link here in just a hot, I'll give you a link to that page here in just a second if you want to stay plugged in. All right, so let's get to the agenda. The agenda, first and foremost, is going to be the framework, and this is going to be the personal vision, the personal and business framework that I have used to get my best life. Now, for some of you, I'm recognizing some familiar names, so I'm going to ask for a little bit of grace because not everybody has seen this yet. Excuse me. It's the Viper framework. So those of you know, it's going to take about 10 or 12 minutes for me to get through that. So I appreciate me giving the opportunity to go through that again. But that framework is really important, because then we're going to talk about the people component of this. So you've got the business framework, the system side, and then we're going to have the psychology side of this, because the psychology side of it is what manages the people side of the business. So then we're going to look at the 4 core functions of business. We're going to look at scaling the business, right? How to grow this thing. And then we're going to look at different resources. Okay. So this is all the things that we need to start to consider when we're putting a business plan together. So let's first and foremost talk about the systems. The systems piece, first and foremost, this is everything that I wrote about in the Time Wealthy Investor. If you'd like, you can get a copy of it from Amazon, but I'm not here to sell this. If you're US domestic, you can get a copy of it from strategicboardroom.com. But everything in here is what I'm going to be talking about in the Viper method. Okay. The Viper methodology is vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. So I'm going to go through this, and I want you to think about this methodology as you're starting to think about this from a top-down perspective, because this is exactly what you need to be doing when you're putting together a business plan. So let's talk about first and foremost around vision. Now, vision is broken down into two separate components. Vision is personal vision and business vision. So when you're looking at personal vision and business vision, the personal vision is just going to ask you a very simple question, and that is, where do you want to go? Where do you, Mugisha, where do you want to go? Yes, to answer your question, it is being recorded, and you will be sent a link to the YouTube video once it's uploaded to YouTube. So, yes, and it will be sent to you via email. So watch for the email with the markdolfini.com extension. Michelle, you've already got the question. Miles from Kentucky, hello. All right, very good. All right, so let's keep moving. So the question is, where do you, Portia, where do you want to go? Annette, where do you want to go in life? So when you're thinking about this in your business context, you can think about this as, okay, cool, how are we going to get there? And when you think about this, like, this is about you waking up in the morning with a metaphorical $30 million or 30 million pounds or whatever, 30 million, a lot, whatever the lot of money is to you, where you don't have to worry about income generation anymore. Now you can start to think about what your life would look like from day to day. Now, you can't eat into the capital too much of $30 million before you start impacting your ability to not, where you're going to have to go out and get a job again. Right. So you're going to have to be a good steward of money. But this is the thing, like, when your business vision is the only thing you think about, when you think the only thing that you think about is, well, I really need 1,000 new customers. I really want to flip 100 homes. When I really need to get, 100, I want to sell 100 new widgets to whoever it is, that becomes a business vision. And that business vision, in essence, becomes your personal vision. And that's how you get that's how you end up with a life that exists to serve the business. And I'm just telling you, that sucks. I've been down that road many times, and I'm in my 50s now. And I'm like, man, how many more times am I going to make this mistake? So I'm just telling you, like, I love what I do now. Like, I live for teaching and coaching and doing exactly what I'm doing right in this very moment. As cruddy as I feel, I was actually looking forward to doing this all day, because this is really the thing that I'm living for, because I really love teaching small business entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, micro business owners, everything that I know to help them get better in their lives. Okay. And here's the problem, is that when you don't take the time to develop your personal vision, the danger in creating a business vision without ever creating a personal vision is that you end up creating a life that exists to serve the business. Okay. So I just don't want you ending up in a life where everything you do is for this business. And I mean, your business is never going to love you as much as you love it. It just won't love you back. So here's the thing. When you're looking at your personal vision, I'd like you to think about just constructing your personal vision just through one framework, through one lens, and that is conducting a 100th birthday speech. So, think about who you would want to be. There you are, you're turning 100 years old. I want you to think of who you would want in the room on your 100th birthday speech. Who would you want to be there? What would you say during your 100th birthday speech? Would you be talking all about your business? That's up to you. If you want to talk all about your business, that's great. If you want to talk about other things in your life, you've turned 100 years old and you want to talk about other things, that's up to you. I can't say it's wrong. I'm just saying what's right for you. So what would you want others to say when you were done? Right? Like, hey, that was a great speech. Dark Rose, that was a great speech. What would you want others to say to you afterwards? Like, that was amazing. But more specifically is, what would be the message that you would want others to carry outside the room after you were done speaking? That probably for me is probably the biggest one, is, wow, you really helped me do X, Y, or Z. That to me is probably the biggest one, right? Is in terms of legacy. So really take time to think about what that would look like. And that would absolutely help you formulate your personal vision. So there's lots of other ways to do this. I'm going to just land the plane there, but that's the one thing I want you to think about in terms of personal vision. And that, unfortunately, is not anything ever tied to a business plan. Okay. But I have to be authentic to who I am. And I have to teach at least that part before we get into the actual business planning. So let's get into business vision here just a hot second. So when you're coming into business vision is broken down into 3 C's. Okay. 3 C's. And that is broken down into core purpose, core values, and your client avatar. And you're going to see these things show up in your business plan in multiple different ways. So if you can get clear on this now, it's going to make it way easier when you're trying to fill out your business plan. Okay, so let's unpack each one of these 3 in order: core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Your core purpose is specifically, what business are you in? almost to the exclusion of what the business is not in. So this is about where you get to be a little obnoxious about what business you're not doing. If you just say, well, I'm in the real estate business. Okay. Well, you're, what else do you do? I mean, are you in commercial and residential? Do you development? Do development? Are you a realtor? And if you're saying yes to all those things, chances are you're trying to say yes to everything. And as a result, no one's going to say yes to you because it's too confusing. They're not going to know that you have expertise in any one area. I really like working with married business owners who have kids at home because I understand how busy they are and I know what they're about. Am I trying to work for a Fortune 1000 CEO as a coach or a consultant? No, because I don't know the problems that they face. I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out. That's not really what interests me. What interests me is working with people just like you that are on the call that are have a business idea. They don't really know what they don't know. They're following different people on TikTok and oh my gosh, I'm posting and I'm not getting any traction. Like, why is this not working? Right? Like, I understand the problems and I also understand the head trash that comes with that. Ask me how I know because I've had to deal with the same head trash. So I'm just letting you know, like, this is why it's really important for you to know what business that you're in and specifically what problems do you solve? What problems do you solve for people? What problems do you solve in your line of work? And you really need to be specific in your answers. So I like that the calling is how you're going to get where you want to go. That's exactly right, Dark Rose. And I loved your answer, by the way. I was actually going to use you as an example. So I'm just going to put you up on screen if you don't mind. Not you, but your response. You put in here. Here it is. Okay. I'm from Edmonton Air Base, Canada. Is that Air Base? Edmonton, Canada. And I bake cookies. I bake cookies, right? So she is a baker. I'm assuming it's a she. So assuming you're a she. So if that's the case, you might be he. I don't know. But the point is, you bake cookies. You didn't mention that you could bake cupcakes. Could you bake cupcakes? Sure. Could you bake wedding cakes? Probably. Could you bake these crazy fondant sort of things that really highly decorative cakes? Sure. But Dark Rose bakes cookies. And that right there is highly, highly specific. And I think that's fantastic, right? Because that lets, oh, Alberta. Okay, sorry. I kept saying air base because in my mind, I flew to a lot of air bases as a Marine. So I apologize. That's my default. And so anyway, so Alberta, Canada. So my point is that Dark Rose is very specific in terms of what the business is. Okay. So that's really important in terms of what to be highly specific in your answers. When you get to core values, what matters to you about this business, and this is really important when you're starting to think about what matters to you in your core values, because your business is just an extension of you, right? So, Dark Rose might not want to bake cookies that have some like weird language on it, right? Like some like offensive language, right? They might no, like that's not what I'm doing. That's not what my business is about. Okay. So go take your cookie business somewhere else. And that's okay. Right. That's okay. Because if it was something like, baking something that most people would find offensive or that it does not align with their core values, that's important. That's really, really important. So that's why I'm saying like, this is why it's important you have your core values well defined. So you attract the people that you want, not just in customers, but for people who want to work with you, for people who want to work for you, because you're going to need more than you. And I'm telling you that the better you can define your core values, not just about what matters to you about this business, but how would the world be worse off if you went out of business? This is really, really important. And because the core values directly ties to company culture. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But the core values ties to company culture, and company brand are inextricably linked. You cannot think about a company that has a great company culture that you just love shopping there or working with them or whatever it is, right? Like Southwest Airlines. Now, I don't really particularly care for flying Southwest Airlines because I like an assigned seat, right? I don't want to feel like some, sheep just waiting to be herded into a big metal tube. But I do like their company culture because they're fun, right? They're fun. They tell jokes. Like it's always lighthearted, But that's the thing that I appreciate about Southwest Airlines is their company culture and their company brand is inextricably linked. They are about having fun, and it's not just about telling jokes in front of the cabin. So, um, let's see. Geo, give me 1 second. I am a realtor. I just got in this industry. I come from transportation business. I want to position myself in luxury residential real estate. I think that's phenomenal. I think that the fact that you're being that specific is really going to be helpful as long as there's volume, as long as you have enough volume to get there. But most real estate agents tell me to start from cheaper and lower level in residential properties. Do I have to start positioning myself as a luxury realtor from the beginning? Here's the thing. Is it Geo? I'm sorry. Yeah, Gio. Geo, here's the thing. I mentioned earlier that I'm a that I like working with, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, I like working with Christian married couples who are in business, Christian married couples who have businesses, who have kids at home, right? Those are the boxes that I like checking. The thing is, will I work with people who aren't Christian? Sure. Will I work with people who are not married? Sure. Will I work with people who don't have kids? Sure. But the problem is, as I start taking too many of those things off the table, then they're getting further and further away from my avatar. Doesn't mean I can't help them, but this is why it's important to define this. But the reason I can work with those couples is because, or that avatar is because I'm a member of that group. If you have never purchased or don't know anything about this avatar who would buy luxury residential real estate, it's going to put you at a very significant disadvantage. But if you know people who buy luxury residential real estate and you know what their needs are specifically, I will tell you, understanding a high-end avatar, this is outside of um, the course today, but hang on a second. This book right here, No BS Guide Marketing to the Affluent by one of my favorite authors, Dan Kennedy. There is a lot of books out there about working with the affluent. If you don't know what the affluent want, you're going to struggle because the affluent buyer have different needs. And most of their needs is especially if you're looking at boomers. So it just depends. You've got to know your market and you've got to know your avatar really, really well, which comes to the third thing we're going to be talking about here in terms of client avatar. But this book, it's called the No BS Guide Marketing to the Affluent. Again, one of my very, very favorite books. But there are tons of books out there about working and attracting to the affluent buyer. So to answer that question, I think your realtor colleagues are well intentioned, but it to me that doesn't make sense because if you're trying to learn that high-end real estate residential avatar, you're never going to learn it by doing low end first. You're just going to learn more about what the low end needs wants, right? So if you're trying to position yourself as, like, is Walmart ever going to sell Bentleys? Probably not, at least not based on their current avatar that they attract. So that's why I'm saying like this is a problem, by the way, where if you look at, let's take an example where you're looking at Kia. Okay. Kia was a Korean or is a Korean automobile manufacturer, and they came in the market on a very low end, right? They were selling really, really super cheap cars, right? Now they're trying to sell higher end cars. And the problem with that is there's people who still, like in my generation, see Kias and they see them as low end vehicles. I don't know that I'd ever buy a Kia, to be honest with you, because I'm in my mind, it would be hard for me to look at that and associate that with a high quality vehicle. It's just the way it is because they came into low market. Look at Tesla. What did Tesla do? Tesla, did they come in low or did they come in high? They came in high. The first versions of those cars were like $250,000 or something crazy, right? Then they brought it down to become more affordable. And that is why I would suggest if you want to take this approach, then fine. But you got to understand your avatar first and foremost. Okay. I spent a few extra minutes on this, so I hope I'm not going to go long here, but I think that's really important to address. Do you also talk about remote business? Listen, Rashawn, I don't care. Business is business, right? Remote business has its own complexities for sure. But the thing is, all of this applies because if you don't know your core purpose, if you don't know your core values, I mean, in essence, I run a remote business. This is a remote business. I could do this anywhere. I can do this from the back of a camper, right? This is my office. I have a physical office, which is not the same place as my house, but this is a remote office. I have to know my core purpose. I have to know my client avatar and core purpose, core values, and client avatar. I have to know all three of those things. Okay. Hello, Scarlett. Good to see you. You bet, Gio. Glad. Hopefully that helps. Exactly. I wouldn't buy a Kia vehicle. Listen, it's just the same. It's just the nature of how they perceive value, right? And that's been the problem. Okay, so client avatar, who specifically and ideally do you want to serve? And what are their geographics, their demographics, and their psychographics? Okay, so you have to get really clear in terms of who this person is, or person buying unit, right? Could be a couple, right? Whatever it is, that would be who that avatar is. So you really have to identify your avatar. This would be something known as the target market. Okay, this is also known in market speak and market parlance as a target market, your target audience. So what are their geographics, their demographics, or psychographics? So let's look at their geographics, which is basically where they are. That's pretty straightforward. Then you're looking at their demographics, which is who they are, right? Are they married? What are their ages? Do they have children, right? Blah, blah, blah. And their psychographics, which is basically how they think. Now, think about this. When you're trying to think about how they think, this is really important in terms of how they make buying decisions, right? Because you may have a certain group, right? This is like getting back to Gio's example here. A higher end avatar, especially an ultra wealthy or someone who's going to buy luxury type residential real estate, what are they going to value? They're probably going to value um, privacy. Really going to value privacy. So if it's like, hey, listen, one of the things that I do is if you want to buy a property, I promise no one's ever going to know that you are my client unless you tell them. I'm just letting you know this, because what you do with your money and what you buy with your money is never going to leave. It's going to be between me and my broker, and that is it, and the people of the title company. And if you choose to tell anybody, that's on you. But recognizing how much an affluent avatar, because what if they're buying a second home or a third home or a fifth home? Then they don't want to be judged by the people in terms of how they spend their money. Okay. I mean, and that's a real thing. So they really value that privacy, that candor. So that's really going to be important. There's lots of other things they value as well, but I'm just saying, like, that would be something that's very true for a high-end avatar. So psychographics in terms of how they think. So when you're thinking about how they think, I want you to think of a simple acronym called ALIA, ALIA, and that is attitudes, lifestyles, interests, and aspirations. So when you understand them, I'm going to stick with Gio's example here for just a second, right? When you're looking at someone who is a high-end avatar that may be buying real estate. Now, again, I'm a real estate guy. I have never been a realtor, but I have a broker's license and I do property management in the state of Indiana, and I have done that for a number of years. But I also hold an amount of my own real estate, which enables me to do this and not have to worry about where my income is coming in. Fair enough. So that's why I'm saying, like in order for you to reach me, you got to figure out what are my interests? What's my lifestyle? What's my aspirations? Where do they hang out? Are they going to hang out at the yacht club? Are they going to hang out at the golf course? Right now, I'm a gun guy, so I like to go shooting at the shooting range. So if you were going to try to attract me, you might want to put an ad somewhere around something like that. Now, if you're opposed to guns and you don't like them, listen, I'm not going to say that that's wrong. You're just not going to attract me as an avatar, at least not that way, right? But I'm just saying, like, you have to think about this. Like, are you a boat guy? Are you a kayaking kind of guy? Are you a, whatever? And again, this is why you have to be polarizing in your marketing. Don't try to be everything to everybody. If you are, you're going to attract no one. Because if you're trying to be the realtor to everybody on a high end and low end, the high end are going to come to you, and the low end are going to think that you're too good for them. Make sense? So this is why you have to be really clear in terms of your core values, your core purpose, and your client avatar. So that wraps up vision. Let's talk about infrastructure. Infrastructure is pretty straightforward. It's the bones of the business. It's the desks, it's the chairs, it's the software, it's the computer systems, right? The phone systems, websites, things like that, right? How you absolutely run the business, the bones that the business runs on. Now you might be thinking, well, why does vision have to come first? Well, shouldn't I put the infrastructure in place first? No, because if you think about the vision, right, the vision is preceded by personal vision. So if your personal vision is to Gio love Dan Kennedy. I've read about half of his books, and he's written like 20 plus, and I've got many that I haven't read, but I've read many of his. Yeah, Dan Kennedy is a genius. But the reason why vision comes first is because if your vision is to lay on the beach for 2 months out of the year in Spain, rubbing cocoa butter on your belly, right? And you built an infrastructure that's going to require you to return emails and phone calls in a timely manner, that's going to be a horrible experience for you when you're trying to lay on the beach rubbing cocoa butter on your belly, right? So that's why vision comes first. So you build that vision and then you reverse engineer this business in the form of infrastructure after the fact. So you got your personal vision, then your business vision, and then comes infrastructure to support that. So now we talked about vision, we talked about infrastructure. Let's talk about process. Process is simply how you do stuff, right? And this is the tactical process, and this is the strategic planning portion of this. So the process is you're really not going to spend a whole lot of time in this in a strategic plan. The reason why is because it becomes too granular. But let me explain to you first and foremost what tactical process is. Tactical process is just simply how you do stuff, right? It's your standard operating procedures or SOPs, your checklists, right? Those are the things that you're working on and working through every single day. Your day-to-day activities, right? It's your opening procedures and your closing procedures, and for Dark Rose, it's how mixers get cleaned and things like this, right? These are all of the things that have to follow a certain set process in order for, say, food handling or customer, taking care of customers or whatever it is. It's the day to day stuff like that. Okay, so it's what are you saying? I want to be into translation and interpretation services with AI integration to help businesses who their clients are non-English speakers. Okay. All right. All right. That sounds pretty specific. Very good, Mugisha. You really need to study for 1 year. Not sure what that is. That's in relation to, Rashawn. If you can elaborate on that a bit. So these are your day-to-day things in terms of like how you prepare bank deposits and how you answer, even down to how you answer the phone. This is all stuff that needs to be really, really specific. So this is when you're looking at this. Now, if you look at this little box here that I just drew around infrastructure and process, what's around infrastructure and the tactical portion of process, that's where a system of your business lies. That's where the system is. So for those of you who are systems folks out there, this is where you're going to be paying attention to is infrastructure and the tactical part of process. Now, again, tactical process, that's not really anything that you're going to delineate in a business plan because it would get way too granular and the thing would be like 500 pages. So that's not the point of that. But again, I wanted to put that in there so you can understand where the tactical part of process lies. But this absolutely does apply to the business plan is the strategic part of process, which is the strategic planning. And this is where it's going to involve the people, the purpose, and the promotion. All three of these things will be in your strategic plans, or I'm sorry, in your business plan somewhere. They will be in your business plan, but they'll be in your strategic plan, but they will also be in your business plan. So the thing with the strategic planning is you're going to need people. You're going to need people more than you, because the reality is there's going to be people out there who have skill sets that you're just not as good at. Right. I'm pretty good as a generalist, right? And that's what makes me good as a strategist. But I full well know that I have to lean on guys like Dan Kennedy to teach me stuff that I just don't know. Right. And even when I do know enough, now I can go out and find people who can actually help me and leverage my activities and my actions. So this is why you have to have people around you. And the reality is you're only one person. You can only do so much in one time. So when you bring other people into your organization, that's when you can start to magnify the efforts and the activities, right? So that's people. This is next is purpose. The purpose of the strategic planning is around establishing a strategic purpose. Okay. So when you're putting together strategic purpose, it should align with what? It should align with your business vision and ultimately your personal vision. So the purpose might be to gain market share. It might be to launch a new product. It might be to launch a new service. It might be to go into a whole new market, right? But you got to have the purpose well delineated in terms of what part of the strategic plan is next, right? So if you think about your business, this infrastructure and process, think of that as a battleship or a warship, right? And you want to take that out of the harbor. That's what strategic planning is doing. It's saying, hey, look, we're going to go out there and mix it up a little bit. We're going to take this boat out of the harbor. That's what strategic planning is planning for. So you're just kind of drawing that map. The promotional piece is communication. So the promotion is letting people know inside your organization what your strategic plan is, and also people outside your organization in the form of marketing, in the form of press releases, in the form of networking, in the form of getting on podcasts, or whatever it is you want to talk about. All these different things are all related to promotion, and that's letting other people know what you're planning on doing. And sometimes that can even be used as misinformation campaigns. But I will be honest with you, you got to be careful with stuff like that, because if you get known as putting stuff out there that is not, you're not sure where that's going to go, like unless you're really engaging in some like like Mortal Kombat with a business in your market, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't recommend it for most, just because it can easily backfire on you if you're not careful. So I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. But in terms of promotion, positive promotion, letting them know what you're going out there, because I'm telling you, when you put so much stuff out there that your haters just don't even know where to go next, and you have them trying to respond to 7 or 8 different things, that's when you know you're ahead of the game. That's when you know when you're winning. So that's part of strategic planning. So that is process, right? We talked tactical and strategic. Let's get to execution. Execution. This is one of my favorite quotes by General George S. Patton, who was a World War II American general. A good plan violently executed now is better than the perfect plan executed next week. So true, because I don't know how many people, maybe maybe it's you. No one here, right? But you're always like getting ready to get ready, right? It's like you're never actually taking any real execution. This is the problem, because most plans fall apart in their execution. And this is because many people often have way too many priorities. And this is also when they have like 7 different businesses that they're trying to run at the same time. Ask me how I know. Right? So when I got really clear about running one business at a time, getting it up and running on its own, and then went to the next business, that's when I was able to do it. And then when a business started costing me too much in the terms of bandwidth, where I actually had to back away from a business, I absolutely did that too. So I'm just letting you know that in order to be effective in execution, you have to be able to establish and maintain priorities. And the thing is that having too many priorities has the same impact as having no priorities. And this is like, again, this is where you have like that to-do list of 74 items that you're going to do today. I know you're out there. Where are you at? I know you're there, right? And that's exactly right, Michelle. Perfection is an illusion. It's just like you want to take that imperfect action and then let it teach you, and then adjust based on what it taught you. That's the problem, is that if you're always going out there taking imperfect action, but you're never allowing the results to show you what's happening, to let the results to show you what is being changed in the marketplace, or what they're actually saying. Listen, I'll give you a great example. I did an event a while back, um, and it was one that maybe some of you has signed up for. It's called Marketing Magic. And I originally signed up, or I originally had called it Lead Generation. What did I call it? Lead Generation Multiplier. That's what I originally called it. The minute, and I got no one to sign up for it, not one person. And I was like, ugh, that sucks. Right? No one signed up for it. But the minute I changed it to Marketing Magic, and it's the same, it was the same thing. It's the same information. But the minute I changed it to Marketing Magic, I don't even remember. It was close to 80 people sign up, which is about right in the middle of the road where I have signups, and usually I get somewhere between 10 to 20% show up. So it was really good. But the problem is the market told me they didn't want that, even though I knew. I was like, oh, wow, okay, they didn't want that. So let me come up with a different title for it. And that's all I did. I had to listen, even though they're like, no, they need to listen to me, right? It's good stuff. Yeah, it does. It is. But the market told me that the headline sucked. I had to listen to it, and I had to humble myself enough not to be right, but to make sure that I was listening to my client. So again, having too many priorities has the same impact of no priorities, and allowing that to teach you. The way I boil this down is through something called a daily 5. Now, the daily 5 is this is something where you're going to be looking up to 5 of the highly more specific actions that you're going to do, which are going to move the needle towards your vision. Right? So they need to be very, very specific. I don't want it to be like check email, check voicemail, right? I don't want it things like that. That's way too generic. Like this needs to be like, email 7 past clients, and send them something of value. Not, hey, you want to buy a property? No, that's crap. That's you selling to them. Send them something that would be valuable to them, right? That would be one specific action. That would be great. What's another second action where you could deliver value to people rather than just creeping in their damn inbox and going, hey, do you know anybody who wants to buy a property? No, send them something that's valuable to them as the avatar. Hey, if you know that your avatar has children, send them something that may be local to them, of a kids event that may be coming up, right? That might be relevant to kids under 12. That would be something that they might appreciate. And that's how you get and stay relevant in the mind of your avatar. Even if they're like, well, I'm in real estate. I'm a one trick pony, or I sell roofs. I'm a one trick pony, or I sell cars. I'm a one trick pony. Really? Because people don't buy second homes. People don't sell homes. People don't get married. People don't get divorced. People don't have neighbors or friends that they could refer to you. Come on. That's very narrow thinking. So again, this is where most of your business is going to come from people who've done business with you before. So again, it's about highly specific actions that you can take that's going to move the needle towards your vision. The last piece is reporting. Now, the reporting function is around lead metrics and lag metrics. Now, generally in a business plan, you're going to see reporting really almost always exclusively talked about in the context of financial reporting. And that's fine, but I'm talking about reporting based on lead metrics and lag metrics. So lead metrics are based on the actions and activities solely. And that's really the only thing you have control over is the actions and activities. So this is important for you to define what actions and activities that you're going to take to move the needle towards your vision, towards your business vision, towards the final goal of the business plan. And the lag metrics are going to be the results of those actions and activities. So that's the stuff that where you are going to get the sales, you are going to get the number of clients, you are going to get the number of widgets sold. Now, you don't have any direct control over lag metrics. I don't have any direct control over the number of people on this session. There's 25 people now. There was 27 people earlier. I don't have any control over the people that dropped off. I don't have any control over the people that stay. None. That's it. Those are lag metrics. Okay. Now, if I'm not putting out good value, I'll watch that number go down quite a bit. But this is why it's really, really important for you to recognize and listen to the feedback that your people are telling you. Okay. So that is the result of your reporting function. All right. So let's move on. We're going to pick up the pace here a little bit. So the psychology is lessons on leadership and management. The psychology side of the business, this is where you start to recognize that systems are important, but they are only going to get you so far. And if you are wanting to really make your business planning and take it to the next level that most people never discuss, because most people in their business plans, they're only discussing the product, the market. They're only discussing the organizational structure, right? They're only discussing the financial side of it. They're really not discussing the leadership side of it. And I'm telling you, a business can win or fall based on its leadership. If you've ever worked for a horrible boss, you know what I'm talking about, because you're like, oh my gosh, I love the company, but I wanted to drown my boss in the river. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting you actually do that. I'm talking metaphorically, right? But you're like, oh my gosh, I really can't stand to be in the same room with that individual. So I have been in jobs like that, and that's exactly what I'm talking to. Yes, Luverta, lead and lag metrics reminds me of the 12-week yearbook. So I didn't call it that until I read that book. And that was a book. Let me actually give him proper credit. So I called them lag metrics. I just didn't call them lead metrics. This is a really good book too. So by Brian Moran, 12-week year. I thought it was a good book. I really did think it. Someone actually mentioned it to me and I was reading and I was like, oh, I actually called it something different. But the lead metrics and lag metrics is exactly what Brian Moran talks about in the 12-week year. So yeah. So thank you. I didn't mean to not give him credit for that, but yeah, the lead metrics and lag metrics. So the lag metrics are always something that's in a that's so I actually used to I think I called it like activity metrics or something like that, or actions. But the lead metrics and lag metrics have a better alliteration. So yeah, but it is a good book. I think his premise of trying to squeeze in 12 weeks into one quarter or 1 year into one quarter didn't really resonate with me, but I got the premise of it. I really did appreciate what he was trying to do, is basically take action, and don't allow too much time in between when you're actually trying to advance and trying to move the needle in your business. So I really did appreciate that. So the systems are important, but the systems are only going to get you so far. So the systems, what will they do? They offer stability, they offer consistency, they offer accountability, right? But they are limited in terms of making subjective decisions. And that, especially when trying to adapt to rapid market changes, coming up with creative solutions and making real, genuine, authentic human connections. I got a call the other day from one of those robocallers, and I could tell it was an AI voice because it was too long of a delay in between when they were asking. And then finally I was like, all right, like, you're trying to call yourself Jessica. I know you're not Jessica. I know you're an AI. Just tell me you're AI. I might be interested, but don't try to pee on my head and call it rain. It was really, really aggravating. So I see an absolute benefit to using AI in certain interactions. But this is something that I would just say, when you're establishing human connections, make sure that is you are legitimately trying to establish authentic human connections with you and between you and your client avatar. So, but that's a limitation of a system, right? Um, you're saying how accountability, Roshan. I'm not sure what you're asking. Um, okay. So let's move on to three pillars. The three pillars of model of leadership. This is where I'm looking at leadership from this perspective of how I'm going to uh, how I'm always going to approach my leadership um, ability with individuals, right? With and these are always around trust, vision, and communication. Are there other components of leadership that are important? Yes, absolutely. I'm not suggesting that there aren't, like, this is the only thing you need, but if these three pillars are non-existent, you're not going to be as effective as a leader. And the thing is about trust is about, like, people will, they may see your vision, right? They may think that you're a great orator, but if they don't trust you, they're not going to follow you, flat out. They may trust you, right? And they may share your vision. But if you can't articulate that well, if you can't communicate that to them well, or you're just a bad communicator in general, they're not going to follow you. And similarly, if you have this trust, you have their trust and you can communicate it, but there's no vision, there's no real clear direction in terms of where you're taking them, they're going to wander and you're going to wander. And again, you're going to be ineffective as a leader. So this is really, really important when you're looking at the three pillars model of leadership. How accountability system, is he referring to the accountability of the system? Maybe. So there's an accounting function, I think is what you're talking about, but I'm not really sure what you're talking about in terms of accountability. We'll come back to that. Um, Okay, we'll come back to that. All right. So does leadership really matter? I'm telling you, leadership really does matter. And so when I'm writing my current book right now called Leader Boss, and Leader Boss is specifically for people who are business owners who are working with people right now, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, why don't these people care? Right? Why don't they listen? And it's really struggling with especially if you are an employer of other people, this can get really, really frustrating. And I'm just letting you know, like, I've employed as many as a dozen people at one time, and I was still referred to as a micro business owner, right? But I can tell you that I understand the challenges that come up with that. And the problem is one of caring versus candor. And when you have too much caring, that's when they will walk all over you. You care about them too much. Versus candor is when you become a tyrant and you're always relying on the rules. That becomes a real problem. And level 5 leader companies, I'm just letting you know, this is a level 5 definition of the highest leaders that have checked their egos at the door. And this was a definition by Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great, Great by Choice, Built to Last. He's written many, many books. And when he looks and identifies a level 5 leader, they represent companies that are significantly more profitable. They grow much faster in terms of their equity growth and their valuation. They have a much stronger company culture, and they have a defined set of core values. Where have you heard this stuff again, right? Or at least a company culture and company core values, right? You've heard that before in business vision, right? So this stuff is going to start coming back around. And when you look at the type of growth that they've had, you look at Amgen, which is over a period of 30 years when it was measured. And this data is from Great by Choice, again by Jim Hansen and Jim Collins and Morton Hansen. So Amgen grew 24 times faster than the market. Like, I'm not talking 24 times, like 24%. I'm talking 24 times, right? So $1,000 investment would have been $24,000 versus another investment which might have only been worth like 1,600, right? So I'm talking grew 24 times faster. Okay, if you look at Intel or Southwest Airlines, probably the most compelling one, it was just 63 times faster than the market. Right? It's just amazing in terms of the type of market returns that they have. And this is also reflected in the 100 best places to work, which is a list that's published, which is frequently published, but it represents the companies with the highest stock returns. That's not by mistake. That's because it's showing and demonstrating how much leadership really does matter. It's not just the systems. Because again, you can have the best systems, right? But if you don't have the right people running them, or they're not being led properly, you're going to struggle. Right? So leadership makes a huge difference. And the reality is that growth requires change. And if you have a small business, it's going to change a lot, and it's going to change often. And leadership is what manages that change. So I'm just saying, like, this is where you have to recognize that the speed of the leader is also the speed of the team. So you have to be willing as a leader of your organization, even if it's only you right now, you have to be willing to adapt and change as quickly as possible, but always stay focused on that core on your business. I'm sorry, on your business and personal vision. Always keep an eye on that so you don't wander. Okay. Otherwise, again, if you start to get away from your core purpose, you should be reminding yourself often, and I mean practically daily, so you're not going to wander away from your core purpose. Because if you do, now you're starting to chase two different rabbits, and you try to chase two rabbits, you're going to catch neither one. Okay. So this is the let's talk about the four core functions of business. So the four core functions of business. Okay, the four core functions of business. This is what's true for every business. So the four core functions are lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. And the customer's journey in your company happens in this order. Okay, so you have to think about that. They're coming to you because of the lead generation. You're going to close the deal because of sales, and this is the operational function where you're going to define what the business does. Okay, this is going to be reflected in your business plan. The accounting function is where you're going to start to think of, okay, like the accounting function is, where all the results are being quantified, right, for the financial results. And again, the customer's journey in your company happens in this order. So I'm just going to leave that for right now. But when you're looking at, when you're trying to scale and you're trying to grow, the four core functions of business, it starts with lead generation. And this is by targeting your client avatar. Where have you heard that before? Your business vision, right? So this is where it starts to come back around, because now we're identifying the four core functions of every business: lead gen, sales, operations, and accounting. And this helps you know specifically and exactly who you want to work with. And it's much easier for you to direct your marketing towards them when you know what problems that they have. Okay. You guys are all here because I know what your struggles are, right? So I put something out there, which I know I'm just being honest. Like, it's the bait in the water, right? Some of you may work with me, some of you may never work with me, but the point is I want to give you a lot of value regardless if you do or not. But it's much easier to direct my marketing if you know this. And this is what like marketers won't say, oh, I tracked you. Aha, I caught you, right? No, I wanted to give you legitimate value. And hopefully over the last 50 minutes, I've done that. Okay. But this is why I'm saying it's much easier for you to direct your marketing. But this is why I also want to make this point, is that the market judges you by what you give away for free. Your market judges you by your samples. Think of the door-to-door salesman that used to knock on the door and say, hi, Mrs. Jones, would you like to try our Shine Away? Right. And you're like, what the heck is this? Right. This is back in the 60s where door-to-door salesmen would sell everything from encyclopedias to Brillo pads. And this is why, and they would leave a sample. They'd come back the next day and say, hey, would you like to buy, a case of these, whatever. Okay. That's how it works. So once you know your avatar, you know how exactly to direct your marketing towards them. Right. So these will be the clients, hopefully, that bring the most amount of money and bring the least amount of drama. So this reasons right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave this, allow you to take a quick screenshot of this, but the 15 reasons why people buy, this is really important for you to know in terms of how to get to your avatar, in terms of how they make money, how they save money, right? So when you understand, this is the reason, what are all the ways, directly and indirectly, that you can help people make money, directly and indirectly, right? What are all the ways, directly and indirectly, that you can help them make money? What are all the ways, directly and indirectly, you can help them save money or save time, avoid effort, escape pain, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to read all these. You can get the screenshot there. But my point is that when you get really clear about it, and there may be not you might have to get a little creative with your answers, again, directly or indirectly. That's going to help you get to understand your client avatar much, much better. Because again, until you understand your client avatar really, really well, you're going to struggle to reach them. So when we're talking about the lead generation function, and this is about you growing your business. Now, this is going to be really important because in the business plan, I'm assuming you're putting the business plan together so you can actually grow a business. That makes sense, right? Everything needs to support your lead generation function. In the beginning, listen, the reality is this, is you can have the most efficient, the best, most efficient, most effective business, the best product or service. You can be a paragon of virtue. You can sell voting booths to Castro or ice to Eskimos, and you can still starve. The reason why is because your lead generation is not effective, and your lead generation will not be effective if you're directing your marketing to anyone and everyone. It has to be to someone specific. Okay. So I just want to make this point here is that you can never, ever, ever, ever take your foot off the gas when it comes to lead generation. That's the reality. So your lead generation activities, I'm just letting you know in the beginning, especially, or if you're trying to grow, especially if you're trying to grow into a new market, it needs to be 60 to 70% of your daily activities. So if you're working a 10-hour day, that's 6 to 7 hours of lead generation activity. And right now I'm looking to grow Strategic Boardroom. That's exactly what I'm doing. Is I'm spending 6 to 7 hours of doing it. And this is part of that. Right. So you might be, and I'm like, boy, he's like kind of direct about this. Yeah, I have nothing to hide from you. I'm just showing you what it is that I'm doing. And some of you might end up being clients of mine. And some of you may take this and use it, use a piece of it and go somewhere else and learn from somewhere else. But you're always hopefully going to feel like I respected you and gave you a good use of your hour. Okay. That's why, because again, the market judges you by your samples. So again, let's look at from lead generation to your sales. Sales just continues the conversation. Started by lead generation. Dark Rose, I have a targeting the right customers event that I'm going to this evening, and I'm 100% bringing samples. Absolutely, right? That's exactly right, Dark Rose, and you will be very, very popular. I promise, right? And and this is the sort of thing like if you had a QR code where you could get them to order, right away. Oh, did you like that? Cool. Would you like to order a dozen? Right? And they can go, yep, well, cool. Like, here's my QR code, right? And you could do that and just say, hey, look, tell you what, don't want you to have to pull out a credit card or anything like that. This is just going to get me your information, and I will be back in touch with you. That way, you don't have to you don't have to do anything else right there. And what that's doing is you're building a list. You're building a list, right? So they might not be willing to buy right then because that would slow things down and might not be the time for that, right? But you could say, hey, cool. Here, I'm going to put that in there. We can have a conversation later about some other things that I do. Okay. And I'll be in contact with you. Just put in the best contact information, right? That would be a way that you could do that and get their contact information. Okay. I have a QR code in the back of my business card. It brings people to my link tree. Here's what I would do though, Dark Rose. And the reason why, and I'm sorry guys, I'm going to go a little bit long today. The QR code that brings them to the link tree, it's bringing them to a buying conversation. They may not be ready for a buying conversation. Okay. The QR code that brings where it gathers their information is going to be far more effective because then you can reach back out to them. Because if they're not, let's face it, let's say you're at a networking event. Okay. Let's figure out how a networking event works. And I don't know the nature of your networking event, but let's just say it's a business after hours, right? Is someone really going to pull out their credit card and do all the things right there? Like, maybe not. I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to break the momentum. I want to get people as quick as possible to get their contact information, say, cool, what's the best way to contact you? And in that, it would be email or phone number, right? And, or, is texting okay? Something like that. So that way you can message them or you can email them and say, hey, cool, we met yesterday. You mentioned the cookies, love to take your order. What would you like to do? Right. And then that way you can bring them to the link tree. But the reality is it might be too much too soon. You have to recognize this in the sales conversation. This is something I actually talk about in sales training about selling without the ick is we're trying to do this without being salesy. Because if people are always feeling like you're trying to sell them something, they're going to start to avoid you. And you seem like a lovely person. I would not want that for you. Okay. The link tree is a really great idea if it's in the buying environment. Okay, I'm going to pull over and park here for just a second because I feel like you guys are asking amazing questions and I don't want to not address these. Let's pretend you're walking into a store. Okay, I'm going to use Walmart because they're all over the place, right? But let's say that you're walking into a store, okay? And it's a general type of store like a Walmart that has different departments. It has jewelry and it has bathing suits and it has groceries and things like that, right? And as you're walking into the store, okay, someone opens a trunk of their car and they go, hey man, come here. Hey, you want to buy a watch? And you're like, yeah, no, not really. Right. And they're wanting to sell this same watch to you, right? You think it's the same. You don't know anything about it. There's no warranty. You don't even know who this person is, right? That may want to sell this watch to you. Okay. And it's kind of dark. You're like, no, I'm good. Right. Meanwhile, you go straight into Walmart and you buy that same exact watch with, because it's set in a nice display case, it's backlit, it's got lights from the top, it looks so shiny and glimmery, right? That's called setting the buying environment. Because the buying environment, you have to get the buyer over the threshold. And if it's not the right buying environment, think about it this way. Have you ever called someone who has like a young toddler? Like right now, we're in the toddler phase, right? We've got a 20-year-old today. Our oldest turned 20 today. We have a 20-year-old, we have a 17-year-old, and we have a 3-year-old. Okay. So if I call my bride and she's in the middle of wrestling an alligator, right, with vis-a-vis our 3-year-old, right? I know she's not in any mode to be sold to, talk to, anything like that, right? So if you called the metaphorical busy mom who's got something that there's not, the buying environment isn't right for whatever it is I'm trying to sell her. Does that make sense? So you have to recognize the buying environment has to be right. And you guys have all experienced this, right? Like when you're walking by a store and you see something that catches your eye from the display case, right? That's because they're setting the buying environment. And trust and know the people who understand setting the buying environment well, they are the ones who sell well. Okay. So you just have to recognize that the buying environment might not be right for that. So when you say, hey, hold on a second, I might have a dozen cookies to sell you. They go, what do you mean I might? Oh, little takeaway. People, right? Did we love hearing no as a child? Did we grow a fondness for hearing no as adults? No. So just give it a try, Dark Rose. Let me know how it works, because I will tell you when you say, hey, oh yeah, I've got a couple of orders already, but I might have to drum up a couple batches, but are you looking for something right away, or what are you looking for? I don't know. These are delicious. Okay. Well, let me know. Right. I got your contact information. What's the best way to contact you? Right. And I don't want to be blowing up your email if you're not going to email me back. So no offense, but I'm not going to bother you. Right. I don't want to do that. Right. And then they're like, no. Right. Now they're going to feel bad if they don't. Okay. All right. So, sorry, I'm going a little bit long, but I felt that was a good detour to take. So Dark Rose says, no, they would follow me on Facebook or Instagram if they're not ready for an order. Okay. I think that's a really long way to get there, Dark Rose. I think that realistically, if I could get their phone number or email address, that would give me a way of following up with them. And that's something I teach in networking. If your networking is not working, that's a course I just taught last week, is follow up and follow through. This is like, again, if people are saying, hey, look, you can either go to my link tree, which is here, or you can go to, just put in your information. I can follow up with you, right? You could give them a choice either way. But personally, I would rather gather their information. That's just me. Okay. So understanding effective selling, buying environments. Thank you, Scarlett. So understands effective selling is about finding solutions. And it's not about holding people's heads underwater until they say yes. So if you're going to get stuck, you're generally going to get stuck in the operational function. If you are going to ignore something, generally you're going to ignore the accounting functions, right? That's generally what happens. Okay. And I have said these same things like, oh, well, I've got more money in my bank account this month than last month. I must be doing okay. Well, that is a problem, right? Because you're not going to, you're not going to know. You can't plan strategically. But here's the thing is, are all these things the same skill set? No, this is why you need different people, right? And this is why business owners and solopreneurs struggle to try to just keep all the balls in the air, because they're not good at all four, right? Because they are a different skill set and they require different things. And so when you are bringing other people in, you bring people in who are in line with your core values. Again, this is where it's coming back around again, because core values will help define company culture. And like I said earlier, the company culture and the brand are inextricably linked, right? So you have to think about this. It's what they're known for, right? Southwest Airlines, fun airline, Chick-fil-A, right? They're known for high quality fast food that is not open on Sunday, right? And they are God and family oriented. What is Walmart known for? They're known for low prices, right? And the brand can work for you or it can work against you, but you got to recognize that the brand is always working and the brand is defined by the company culture. So if core values create unity, you have to recognize that the vision will thrive in an environment of unity where everyone is feeling heard and everyone is feeling like they can give a contribution. It's recognized. And that's one of the main reasons, like I try to, engage with you guys on the chat, not, just so you can feel heard. And sometimes you guys bring up a point. I'm like, maybe I should work that into future presentations, because sometimes you guys make great points. So, they're all points, right? And I'm just thinking like, okay, are they asking for this over and over because I'm not making that point clear enough? Right. So it gives me an opportunity for feedback. So let's look at this last piece here, and then we're going to wrap up. But the business plan itself is about setting you up for success today. So the business plan itself, if you want to go ahead and pull out your business plans or pull that up, what we're going to be talking about really quickly, and we're going to be not going to spend a lot of time on this because you guys can read through it, but it goes specifically first through the industry, then the product or service, then the target market, the demographics or the market size, any competition that you have. It goes through marketing strategy, critical risks or SWOT, which is well, I'll let you read it, right? So it's your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, any financial concerns, and then of course metrics and milestones. So again, if you go to strategicboardroom.com, I'm going to show you really quick on how to get there, just so I can. And then I'm going to share with you another free resource. Actually, let me share this other free resource really fast. So let's see here. So how do you get a QR code like you just mentioned? The QR code, you can go and get a free QR code generator on Canva. And it will allow you to just, what I would do is I would put that, download that and get it on my phone, or you can even print it on a piece of paper and just have them scan it, and send it to a different website. So for me, you can scan that to Google Sheets or something along those lines. Or I mean, even if it's just about attracting them and where it's put on a Google Sheet or anything along those lines. It might be too short notice for you to do it because I don't know what time zone you're in, but realistically, that's something that you can do down the road, especially if you're going to an event where you're like, hey, cool, did you like these? Great. Hey, here's my thing. And it might be something you might want to look do later on. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So you guys got sorted that out. So here's one thing I'm going to offer to you right now, which is totally free. I know some of you have already taken me up on it. As soon as I find my mouse, if you'd like to join the Facebook community, this is, and Michelle will go ahead and put that up. If you are interested, you can go to this email or this web address. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook group. We just don't allow jerks there. So if you're a jerk and you want to come and create trouble, we're going to get booted. So I'm just letting you know. But thank you, Michelle, for putting that up. That is the Time Wealthy Advantage room. If you'd like to join us there, that would be great. So let me do this. I'm going to stop my screen share. I'm going to show you how to get, let's see here. Let's remove that. And let me kill this here real quick. This will just take me a hot second just to show you where to find it. Stop sharing. There we go. There. So where you're going to go, and I'm just going to move this over so you guys can see it, is here, and drag this over. All right. So if you go to, and I'm going to put this up here, strategicboardroom.com. Let me share my screen. All right. So if you look at the screen right here, and okay, so if you go, let me get myself down at the bottom. So if you go up to the screen and you go up, see the top right here where it says courses and logins. So just click on that. And if you scroll down, so the top is the paid course. This is about all, these are all the courses that you could, you could get all the courses in one spot. If that's something you're interested in, you just click on this one over here. If it's something you're interested in. If not, there's individual courses you can buy, but scroll past all those, get down to the free 9-step business plan template. All you have to do is click on that and it allows you to get the business plan template for free. Okay. You don't even have to enter your email address. Okay. So there's that, and that's everything. So it should be straightforward. All right, everybody, that is all I have. I'm going to put the fries in the bag. Thank you for sticking around a little bit longer. I know I got a little windy on a couple parts of that, but you guys are asking really good questions. So I appreciate you sticking around. And I'm also interested in hearing about what kind of businesses you have. So we have sent you some emails saying, hey, what kind of business are you in? Please keep an eye out in your email inbox for you're going to get the replay link. And then we're just going to keep in touch with you from time to time. So just see how you're doing. All right. So that is everything there. And then Michelle went ahead and put the link to that specific spot on the website if you're interested in for that. So, all right, men, thank you so very much. I appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Scarlett.